Polaris, we should know where the Doom's going with the next few picks. They do take the Nyx, which is a great way of handling the kisses from the Snapfire, and gives them a good way of just ganking around. You know, get info out once Vendetta's up, find the target you want to pick off, maybe prevent KSH this time from having a free game, from building up on his pause 1. Nyx can allow you to do that.
Suppose so. Obviously very good against the Snapfire as well. Mortem's Kiss is just getting cancelled off by the Spike Carapace from a range away, so very easy for the Nyx Assassin to do that, as they do go into the Ursa themselves this time around. So KSH maybe just wanting to show Natsumi how it's done. He'll take it for himself. Does obviously very well against the offlane Doom to boot, and I think we can easily assume it's a pos 4 Nyx Assassin, so not the greatest offlane matchup if it is going to be an offlane Doom plus Nyx against Ursa. Pretty disgusting hero they have to play into, but we'll see. As Polaris, they can still flex like you mentioned. I mean, it's guaranteed the Nyx is going to be in the pos 4, but you can still flex out the Doom, as we do see YG now going for the Clockwork. Now, I do believe that should be a pos 5 clock as well. I think you'd rather go for the Gush plus the little Shredder minus armor combo on the offlane for YG. And pos 5 clock, I think, just has a lot of value, especially with a carry like Ursa that likes to get aggressive early. Obviously, just battery assault, cogs pushback. Very effective in locking down Doom or Nyx. And neither one's very mobile, John. So they are forced to go into a Pango now, which is probably going to overtake the offlane. And it is assumed maybe you are correct, and we are seeing perhaps a mid or a pos 1 Doom.
Yeah, I think the Pango has a better time with Ursa. You've got the disarm up now for the Pango with Swash. You also have the shield crash to improve your durability. It is a dual melee lane playing into Clockwork Ursa, so YG still has a lot in terms of holding off that aggression from Polaris. I think for Polaris' side, Doom, I don't see it going pos 1 this game, because you don't have Lina, you don't have TA that can be your big win conditions from mid. So you don't have that scaling mid laner that becomes your actual pos 1, as we saw Paulus with Lina to complement him on his pos 1. Doom, not this time. So I think it's gonna have to be the mid Doom, and they take something bigger for Natsumi on the safe lane. There are still quite a few options. Drug Band out, Lifestealer could be really good if they want to. Into Tide, not the worst. You could still trade right clicks against the Tide, especially once you hit level 3 with level 2 Feast. That can kind of work in your favor. You will have to still watch the Snapfire, but that will give you a way of dealing with both Tide and Ursa down the line. It's not too bad of a matchup, so LS could be an option. You could go for a ranged hero instead, perhaps playing with something like, say, Terrorblade, play around Metamorphosis, stand back, get the hits off. We have seen TB plus Doom as chorus before on the same team. It does work out, and the Doom can kind of stall out, but they banned the Terrorblade here from YG. And they also respect banned the Kunkka on Polaris, so finally taking care of Young PH's hero here.
Right. No, the question is, though, like, at least for Polaris, what they're going to run in this safe lane. Unless it is pos 1 Doom and another mid laner. I mean, the better options of having that kind of real pos 1 in the mid lane, though, is kind of lacking right now. You don't have the Lina, you don't have the TA. I suppose there probably is something else, but it just doesn't come to mind right now. At least for me, for Polaris. Still, YG are the first ones to pick up that mid lane. So no Ember, no Kunkka. What else does young PH want, John? I don't know enough about this young man to... All I know is Kunkka Ember for young PH, and maybe you could add, you know, the other Spirit Brothers in there, but anything else that kind of strikes you here for this young man?
We've seen his puck. It did kind of struggle in the game we saw. They do go back to the Storm. Just another Spirit Brother coming through. So matchup versus Doom's not too bad. You can kind of overwhelm him in the first 3 levels. Level 3 is a particularly painful spike, as we've seen Storms just abuse that Vortex early on. Apply a lot of magic damage. Melee matchup for Doom, not very easy. So I think Young PH sets himself up for a good time, assuming the mid Doom. For Polaris, again, we need the Natsumi hero to be the win condition on a safe. Lifestealer is still an option. Terrorblade would have been preferable. Lifestealer's there. They could try perhaps a Dusa, but it's really risky against the Ursa. Early timing. If the Ursa just jumps you, you're kind of dead. They go with the Troll instead. So seeing something from a long time ago from Natsumi. It's something he still plays quite often. Lane matchup against Tide's not too bad. You can play range. You can clear out the creep wave fine. You're not under heavy pressure from the Tide. So I think you are protected in that sense. And you can just focus in on your farm. Draft-wise, I feel like YG still came out with a better draft. They've still got wider AoE control with Ravage, with the kisses coming through. You will have to deal with the Nyx. Spike Carapace is going to be annoying towards Zarrain this game. But I think YG still has the better way of running around. The Storm might struggle against the Nyx as well, which is really where a lot of Polaris' game plan relies. Mavis has to get off to a really good start. You know, hunt down the Ursa, prevent the jungle from being really overtaken, and be able to control the Storm. Have great use of the Spiked Carapace into the Impale, and that's basically their best way of holding down the Storm. So if they don't manage to get the Spiked Carapace combo off, you might not be able to land a Doom, especially before Blink is up for Lelouch. And that just means until the Blink is up on Lelouch, Young PH is going to be able to zip around with no care in the world here.
Okay, so you think YG has a superior draft going into this game number 2, and well, if you are correct, John, it seems like you're assuming that Polaris is going home tonight in 2 games. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Unfortunately, yes. I think with how YG played, this lineup fits their playstyle a lot more. It's aggressive early on. They've got the win condition on their safe lane and mid, and they can be able to just force early team fights as we've seen them do. They are very fond of grouping up as 5 early on. With a Tide, with a Snap, with a Clock, it's really easy to take control in those engagements.
All right, well, we have a quick pause out, and I was getting a little bit concerned today because we hadn't had a pause yet. Felt very unnatural for us, but there we go. Quick pause as the game does start. Looks like Young PH is having a few issues. Have you had Merienda tonight, John? I haven't had to ask you that tonight.
Not really. No real Merienda, because we start at 5. Usually you'd have your Merienda earlier on, like 3. 5 o'clock is still acceptable, but our break time was like 7. So that's like dinner. I did have a cheese sandwich, like a single slice of white bread, some cheddar cheese spread. That's it. How about you, Mike? You had anything?
No. I think you and I are just on that caster diet right now, John. You're having a cheese sandwich. I'm having absolutely nothing. Thank you for asking though, John. I do appreciate that.
Not what you expected?
Oh, goodness me.
Caster diet's great though, Mike.
It is great, John.
Saves
a lot
you
of
money,
weight. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, with the way we talk, I mean, it's no wonder we never get hired for anything, John, I tell you. We talk crap about every single person that just hires us. I mean, Valve probably hates us with a passion at this point. Love you, Valve. If any Valve employees are out there, we love you. Please don't fire us before we even get hired.
Hopefully, Mike. Hopefully they'll forgive us. Still, Young PH finds the ward walking up at the least.
I was going to say, it might be just because we're terrible casters, John. I mean, they probably haven't even heard of us. Yeah. Zarrain in the Roshan pit right now.
Oh.
Setting up for this top rune, it does seem like they want to try and get aggressive. Polaris not quite taking the bait, and now Zarrain's going to show himself anyway. Be a bit of chip damage onto KSH. And in the end, I think they should still be able to secure this top bounty. I say that, Skill Lay being rather aggressive, but now the Impale's going to come out, and it won't pay off in his favor as they body block him up on the high ground. Surely you get this last hit, Mavis, he's trying. He's got the brown boots up, but so does Skill Lay, and he's not going to be okay. Impale does land, and they get it, Mavis. Eventually, does manage to secure first blood. You know, as a Nyx assassin, John, you are very happy with that because it's not so easy to get gold on this hero. So I think he's going to be very satisfied with that nice little bonus.
Yeah, it gives you a lot. Even just that small EXP boost towards your level 2 is nice, but Skill Lay does cut him off with a TP back in. Might have enough to find that kill as well. So, not quite. Still, he managed to find a kill up top as well. So Polaris off to a strong start, killing off Zarrain, having more active lanes. They fixed that issue from the draft, Mike. They can just apply a lot more pressure. We're seeing Natsumi having to deal with Tide again. He can stand back, play in the range form, but Lun's not going to be completely zoned out from that. So you will still be able to get farm on both sides, but that will favor Troll because the Tide kind of wants to overwhelm you and stop that farm early on. Oh,
absolutely. He should be just fine here, Natsumi. Of course, while we're looking down bot, top lane has been a bit of a messy situation, as we did earlier on see Zarrain drop on the Snapfire to Force, and now KSH is able to pick up Force. So a 1-for-1 in the end on this off lane. While we're here, we may as well talk about it. John, I just feel like if you do commit the Swashbuckle on Force, KSH is just going to have free reign over him if he does miss position. There could be a lot of kill potential in this laning phase. As you've got the Snapfire Cookie to really set up here for KSH. And there you go. In fact, he doesn't even have Swash right now. He's still level 1. He'll try to turn with the Inkswell and does at least manage to get himself out. It's going to be salved up here by Xavius, but it is a very aggressive affair right now, at least for Polaris.
Yeah, it's a lot of back and forth. I think YG is also going to have to be careful, KSH.
Yeah, going to be pushed back. You've got a salve available there on Zorain, so the salve is out for the Ursa. A similar scenario to what we just saw. And while everyone's salving up, back down to the mid lane where Lelouch on the Doom is going to be against YungPH on that Storm. Because I think Lelouch should have a better time on this Doom, as you do have that free Devour. We are going to see YungPH trying to get a little bit aggressive, as I do say that, but at least in terms of net worth, he should have a much better game.
Yeah, it's going to be easier for Lelouch to just find stable farm. Yes, decent lane control as well. YungPH will have much more damage coming through, and if YungPH does hit 6 faster, he could look to make that play onto Lelouch. You know, just drop the remnants, zip in, get the control, spam out the overload as much as possible. And that's the one shortcoming of a melee hero up against Storm. Once he has the Vortex up, it's very easy to just use that to pull you into the Vortex, get a couple of overloads in, and just kind of zone you out. But Doom is fairly tanky, YungPH is all the way down. Rune control, much more important for a Storm here. Gonna have to see if YungPH can constantly pick up the bounty and power runes, as the bottle's gonna be determining how long he stays in lane.
Yeah, a lot of damage being dealt here to the Storm.
Stupendous!
He's able to go back for the bounties though, should be just fine with the bottle. Top lane, Zorain's going to be forced back to the fountain as well. Having a rather difficult time now that you've got the Inkswell and the Swashbuckle combo. So KSH does make a little bit of a jump in, but again, while the Swash is available, you're never really going to kill off Force. It's just a bit of harass from a distance here from our Ursa. Mid lane, however, rotation onto Lelouch. Skill A, he is going to be spotted before he does get there. Nice little Observer Ward to keep the vision on that area. Mavis is going to take the bottom water rune to boot. And that will leave the Doom without one, but Mavis really had no choice in the matter. He had to take it. In the end, though, I suppose as the Doom, as long as you're not getting ganked like that, you're still happy.
Yeah, it's not as important for Doom. Like, he's got good HP regen for the Scorched Earth. At least he can get himself out of dodge a little bit easier. The Devour gives you constant gold, and it's not too expensive mana-wise. So that is a benefit. Still, YungPH pressuring Lelouch here.
It's a bit of a back and forth. The Scorched Earth is doing some damage here to YungPH, but he's going to be just fine. Really just harassing him back, but Mavis is going to rotate now. The Nyx is... Oh, he gets the Spike Carapace off. Smart thinking, but Fairy Fire was there. And of course, in the meantime, Force and Xavius both end up going down to the top lane. But Mavis is still having a look around here for this Storm. Does have the Impale up, just needs the range. Is going to be unable to close the gap, though. In fact, he's still waiting to see if YungPH will turn, but will not.
Buys a lot of time for the Doom, cutting off that EXP and farm from YungPH, so his level 6 is going to be stalled out just a touch. Lelouch going to have Doom up, or at least his level 3 Devourer up by the time he heads back in lane. So much more presence coming out here for Lelouch, holding on to that skill point to see if he can play aggressive or should just go greedy. YungPH could be set back a bit. I think having the Nyx go out, though, does open up the side lanes. You are still seeing Lun keep up in CS in terms of that mid, although...
Yeah, Lelouch, this time around, they do successfully come in from the side. However, Doom is going to be expended to make sure this Storm cannot follow up, but it won't matter. Skill A is able to get the job done as now Mavis can't really kill off YungPH, can't kill off Skill A either, and as he's left the top lane, well, Force is going to drop. These rotations, they're not really working out in the favor of Polaris whatsoever, as YG continue to just take over game number 2.
Yeah, it was a slower start, but a bit of a back and forth there from Polaris. But with the levels up, with the points and lanes, YG's getting a lot more. And YungPH with the Invis might be able to top up and look for a rotation. He's got the mana for a nice long zip. Up top, if they want to cut off Xavius, Force not quite back in lane. In fact, Force is kind of forced to walk back, TP down for 5 seconds, so maybe that's a bit of a blessing for the Pangolier. because he's not going to be involved in that gank, but this is going to be a relatively easy pick-off on Xavius. KSH already positioning to maybe go for that play.
Just waiting for old Xavius. I mean, he had a tough game number 1, and it might be another kind of tough game for him, as certainly being chased down right now, that's for sure.
You blew it!
Big rotations up to the top lane. Hell, even Young PH has just gone immediately into that Radiant jungle. Just make sure that the triangle is not being stacked up for anyone. If they were, of course, he'll just take it for himself, no problem. Soon enough, though, as we do get the unpause going, we'll find out whether Xavius is going to drop. Pings were out. Zorain, he's going to keep looking around. Xavius going to try and juke away, but Scatterblast and Cookie both going to land. KSH, he did not believe that they would be able to get the kill, and because of that, Xavius is going to get out in time. Suppose he did have to go back for the creep wave, but does miss out on a free kill.
I don't think you mind too much. I think that's still beneficial to YG, because now Force is all alone. Still level 4 in Pango, and they're going to go.
Yeah, they're diving. Cookie's going to land. No swashbuckle up, and the amount of damage with that little shredder is just way too intense to handle. I love the confidence here from Skill A to just go right in for a dive, and hell, it pays off. Skill A, well, he does still deny himself off as well. In fact, the Dire claims. We've seen this, but how does the Dire claim it?
I don't know.
He's on the Dire. Valve, he's on the Dire. How does the Dire get the kill on their own hero?
If you look at the fight recap, it only shows the kill as well, so it doesn't show his death, unfortunately. So we'll never know if that's intentional or not, but maybe, because they got more from killing off the Pango first, the network swing just makes it feel like the Dire win. I have no clue how that works. Whatever the coding's there is, it's got a mind of its own. Still, they go back to the lane. KSH now on an overwhelming start has a Morbid Mask up. I think for Polaris, the next move they have to do is kind of control the Roche pit, because once the defuse ult's up, or even just a couple of parts, KSH might feel confident enough to go into Roche. They are still getting a lot of space out here for Natsumi, Mike. Our troll is still finding farm, but he's not ahead of the Tide. Now, it's a free lane, but the Tide's also getting a lot from the lane, so it's an equal lane more than anything else for both heroes, and that's not the best situation for the troll. It's also not too bad, but it's not the same start as you're seeing from KSH, who is up there in net worth, is going to hit that early spike, and is going to be hunting for a Roshan probably sooner than you'd expect.
Top lane, though, KSH may get picked off. 4 heroes up here to try and secure this kill as Lelouch. He's going to pop the Scorched Earth, but no. Nobody gets the jump in. In fact, now Rain is going to spot out Mavis. Young PH will join in. Maybe they can still find some decent pickups. Zorain and Young PH are both going to drop. So they get Mavis, but they lose that mid-storm, and that's definitely not a great trade at all for YG. Suppose they did not see Lelouch was there at the top lane to try and help out, and that'll cost them.
Major kills coming out from Polaris, slowing down that timing in PH is big, and now it's Skill late.
Nice Cogs pushback from Skill A. And I don't think Lelouch will be able to really kill him, though I say that. No way. Doesn't have any points in Infernal Blade. Can't really stop the TP out as... But of course that has brought even more space for Lund now on this Tide, who is just freely pushing this tier 1 tower. Mavis, he's going to try and show up and defend, but Young PH is also going to be there, and that should mean a dead Nyx Assassin. He is not even anywhere near level 6 yet. And that should also mean a dead tier 1 tower.
Yeah, good transition to the push here from YG. While that happens, KSH is in Roche. And there were no wards to spot that from Polaris, so it's going to be an early Roshan along with an early bot tier 1 here.
Oh, nice ink swell. They do land onto the Storm. Young PH is going to drop for this. They sacrifice the Storm to try and get this Roshan play going. Xavier is still going to be chased down here by Lun. He does have Ravage, but Silence is out again. Meanwhile, Roshan does officially go the way of KSH. Lun is now trying to find a way out. In fact, never mind. He's finding Xavier once again. Does get the kill, but can he get out? Force will chase him down. In fact, Lelouch now showed up. Lund still trying to find a way out. Does quelling the tree on the left side, but eventually they should get him. Surely. He's still hitting creeps here, Lund. He's still farming, John. And eventually, Lelouch, he will get him.
It's a ton of commitment. They at least find big kills. You know, you punish a Storm, you take out the Tide, you prevent your tier 1 from falling. You do lose Roshan, but you kind of expect that with Ursa. That still gives YG something to play with, though, as now KSH is going to be protected from ganks. They didn't really manage to get too much damage done onto the top tier 1 or the mid. So in terms of tower trade, it's still looking a lot better for YG to take more control on the map. But they've got to give the Storm room to breathe. You know, Young PH in all the rotations, he hasn't gotten a kill. All the kills have been taken by his assisting heroes. And he needs more gold to hit his spike. The Orchid has to come true. Young PH is sitting at 4k gold, 1k behind his own Tide, lagging behind everyone else by at least a k. Not the best position for a Storm who does want to snowball early.
Certainly not. There's going to be a big smoke up here, though. Skillay, Lun, and Zorain going to head up top. Mavis going to be caught D-warding. Is going to get hookshot immediately. Not quite the kill you would like, but I believe they're only here to really defend that top tier 1 tower anyway. They will be able to get the Nyx as Natsumi now does reveal himself on the troll. But again, I believe Lun's only here to defend the top tier 1. Pretty standard Tide kind of play. And of course, he does have the Ravage if they try to initiate on him. So indefinitely hold the tier 1 tower top lane, and there's not really too much that Polaris can do to stop this.
Yeah, they don't have the best push. I mean, they can try to commit with Natsumi. He's not at the point with the troll where he kind of wants to stand in front and get that going for his team. So just going to have to play it a bit more patient here. They do have the Midas running on Lelouch. He is rushing for BKB next. Doom is kind of ready to just passively grow big. #1 in net worth right now by virtue of his spell kit. And as long as you kind of maintain that, hit that BKB blink timing, you're going to have a lot to play with here on Polaris. But I think for YG, you're going to hit this spike with the Ursa now. The Fusel Blade coming up. If KSH wants to, they can easily force the fights with the Inhibit, with the Mana Burn coming out for the Ursa. It's a lot easier.
Horse. Oh, he had a rough game 1. He's having a very rough game 2 as it's 1-5 now for him. In the meantime, they're just trying to kill off a Clockwork. Skill A, I'd call that space creation right there. There's nothing for the man to do at the moment, so he just drags their attention. As now KSH, Diffusal Blade up, Aegis is available. He wanted to go for a dive. You've still got Lun with the Ravage. I think they could happily just force a tier 1 mid tower push. They might just, as Natsumi, he's not ready to join yet. I mean, he's got the Maelstrom up, so maybe he could think about it, but with the Ravage still available, I don't think he wants to go into this fight. And it does seem like YG might freely be able to get this tier 1 tower.
Yeah. Like, it's just so tough for Lelouch. He doesn't want to commit the Doom onto the Tide. He knows the Storm is going to be hanging in the backline. But he has to prevent that Ravage from coming out as well.
Double Doom, though. That's a lot more spicy. Cookie away, at least onto the Tide Hunter, as the Ursa is also going to run. And the Double Doom, I mean, it stops the tier 1 tower push, but you committed your Doom. You brought 5 heroes into the mid lane. Nothing comes of it. And if you're YG, you're just going to turn right back around and go after that tier 1. In fact, Young PH has a double damage rune on the Storm now. So you're definitely not going to fight if you are Polaris. You might have no choice, though, because Skill 8 does have a hook shot. Bit of hesitation might cost him these kills. He won't go for it in the end. So Polaris will be able to escape with their lives intact, but they have lost their jungle now, and the game does get much more difficult.
Yeah, it's going to limit the area for Natsumi to farm in. The triangle, it's not going to be as safe. It's still fairly protected by a good ramp ward here from Polaris' end. But you really need to get into gear with your Troll, get into gear with your Doom. Lelouch still has that gold lead. Without the Doom up, it's going to be a bit harder to lock in the Storm, prevent the Tide from getting damaged or the Ursa from getting damage done. Polaris will try for a smoke play, but no one's playing that side of the map. They're playing top, they're pushing the tier 1. Young PH is also pulling back a bit, just being safe, knowing that missing heroes is a bit of risk.
Good smoke break there again from our Clockwork here. Can they actually kill him off? No. Skill Ace survives. See, that's a concerning sign. I mean, he breaks the smoke, and then Skill Ace just able to hook shot out. Just casually hook into the creep wave, no problem. Back in they go. Zip is there. Young PH, he's found the Nyx Assassin with the Orchid out, but maybe he's in trouble. But a big Ravage in from Lun will not save the life of the Storm. They do get Mavis down. Lun chasing for more. In the meantime, mid lane, Skill lane still alive as Force is trying to secure the kill, but just can't get it. And in the meantime, Lelouch, he's not out of the woods yet either. KSH gonna chase him down. No defusal available right now, but they'll keep the vision up. In the end, though, I suppose killing off young PH is perhaps a bit of good news here for Polaris.
Yeah, it's still a really nice kill to pick up, but you have to sacrifice so much for it. I think YG are not going to mind that at all. Doom is back up in Lelouch, though, but that will make it a bit awkward for young PH to come back in, although.
No, never mind. He's going right back in with the Orchid out onto the Doom, but do they have the damage to burst him down? Not yet, because KSH, he's gone after another, but he's going to drop his own life. Ooh, a very messy team fight now from YG as Lun doesn't know what the hell to do with himself. He's going to try to run, but Natsumi will have free reign over his life. Yeah, I mean, that team fight, just very forced here from YG. And Polaris, they are going to be able to capitalize.
It's a bit of an awkward choice to walk in without the Aegis around all those heroes. Polaris, they had Doom back up, they've had a way to control. There was no Ravage in YG, so the wider engagement would not have been in their favor, and they got punished. A good move shot from Polaris allows them to find that mid-tier 1. That equalizes the map control just a bit more. They can dip into the jungle, go on a hunt if they want, apply some more pressure onto YG's cores, and for YG's part, I think they've got to tone it down a bit. Maybe work together as a team, play around those cooldowns here. Play around Ravage when it's up, that's when you can jump in.
Close call there for our Snapfire, but does manage to TP out quickly before the stuns did come in. Again, the invasion of that Radiant Triangle here from YG, they're going to try again. The Battle Trance is up in 8, but Skill Age is going to move right in. Natsumi orchid it up, but a big Rolling Thunder. They seem to have predicted it, but it won't matter. They still lose Natsumi. Only problem is, though, at least for YGs, they've lost Skill A and Young PH. And now maybe even Lun, who needs a few more seconds for the Ravage. KSH is going to try and come in and help out. He does get Mavis, and now the Mortimer's Kisses are going to fly in from the heavens. Force still trying to run, but a big Ravage now. Lun does catch 2. They'll find the Pango surely, as the fake grenade is not going to be enough. And in fact, KSH has gone down. And Force, he will eventually come back in and die to Lun. Lelouch, in the meantime, does kill off Zorain. Lun is still trying to kill off the Doom. It does still seem favorable, though, for Polaris. I mean, they were the ones behind, but they get a 3-for-4 trade. Yes, they lose Natsumi, but they get Young PH and the Ursa in response. I'd say you're more than happy with that.
You definitely are. I think YG can have to tone it back a bit, although...
Well, the thing is, you are still up against the Storm with an Orchid, so you show on the map you are probably going to die. This time, Young PH does get away with that kill.
And it's about bouncing through your cooldown. So you pop Ravage, but now Doom is back up. Polaris have this window where they don't have to worry about the Tidehunter. They can just look to jump in and commit. I think for YG's part, they're going to need protection on KSH. BKB has to come through for Ursa, along with that Blink, so he can kind of reposition himself, get the jump in these engagements, and just overwhelm whatever core he's jumping on Polaris' end. Until that point, we've seen it with KSH. Once the Enrage is gone, the Ursa does just melt to the damage from Polaris, and that is something that YG should be concerned about. There's a 3k lead on Polaris now. Natsumi has managed to overtake KSH on farm. Lelouch, of course, it's a Doom with Midas. It's all the way up there now. Has the Blink ready as well.
They still are yet to find that top tier 1, though. Skill lane clears out the creep wave, but they have brought numbers up this time, and I think with the previous team fights that have occurred, Polaris, they are feeling very confident to finally go after this top tier 1 at 20 minutes in. In fact, Natsumi, he'll just take care of it by himself. Still being rather hesitant, though, as Mavis find Young PH. They'll make the jump in with the Impale out, and they'll have plenty of control. The Storm just not having a great game at all. 2-5-5 right now, and just continues to struggle as they pick him off again.
Yeah, it's been slow going for Young PH. Still among the lowest net worth cores here, just barely above the Pangolier, which is again not the point you want to be with. This hero desperately needs that BKB, and they might lose more if they're not careful.
Yeah, I mean, they got skill layup. Inkswell is going to connect it. Well, Skill Lane, nice hook shot away back to his teammate. Conks push back as well. It's the great escape here from Skill Lane, and he'll make it just fine. They can't kill him. Again, I think his clockwork has been very good at creating space here for YG. Problem is, though, they are still behind, so you're going to need to see a few more of those moments. And of course, even with that space creation, Natsumi was still freely farming up that triangle.
Yep, and then the Troll and the Doom constantly keep building up. Your Ursa's just not able to keep up in the same way here. KSH, he's not too far behind. It's only about 1k compared to the Troll, 2k compared to Doom, which is to be expected against the Doom. But you still need to hit these spikes on the Ursa. You want that blink, you want the BKB.
Oh, double Doom! Not quite out yet, but they do eventually throw it out. They want that tie dead, and they should be able to get him just fine. Lund and Skill Lay both going to drop, but Skill Lay, he commits a buyback. They're going to try and force a fight now. In fact, Lund, he's committed his own buyback. They'll go on to Mavis, but they need more. Hook shot, it's on target. They've got the Doom. Skill Lay going to move in for even more now, but it'll be a dieback immediately on him. They need Lund with the Ravage. He's trying to break the gap with the Blink Dagger. Eventually, he does come in. Natsumi, though, he got the BKB off in time, but they do get the Doom. Leilouche, he'll buy back to boot. Natsumi, Battle Trance committed onto the Ursa. It's a lot of damage. They'll end up finding KSH. In fact, young PH, he will drop to boot. So the buybacks do not pay off in the end, and they might even get another dieback onto Lund. And Polaris, they are looking very good now to claim this game too, as Roshan is well and truly open for Natsumi.
Yep. Good timing there to force that fight. There's double damage down there as well as they clean up the Zal'Rain. Last remaining member of YG, and that's a full team wipe for Polaris. Into Roche, forcing in the mid tier 2. And they find everything they want. Ag Shard coming through for them as well. And YG, it just feels so forced. Like, they buy back, they come in, they don't manage to buy back fast enough. I think there was some delay coming through there on Lund with that buyback. So by the time he comes in with a Ravage, it's fairly far out from the TP area. And they don't catch enough in the Ravage. They don't have enough damage to completely overwhelm the Leash fast enough as well. And Natsumi's just a massive issue. When he comes in, gets the evasion off with his Whirling Axes, get the miss chances off, it becomes a lot tougher for the Ursa to just stand and hit. The Ursa can still hold its own in that matchup, but you do need that BKB. It's becoming increasingly clear that the Ursa's just easily kited around from all the control Polaris has, and KSH is not really able to just enrage off most of that control. It's still YG smoke up, there's no Doom, and there's no Ravage, but Doom will be up earlier. They've got to move faster if they want to find that pickoff.
Mavis has been very good on this Nyx, just finding great targets. However, they are going to start with force. They will get the Pango. That'll be one down. You can't forget they are still fighting into the Aegis of Natsumi. So you don't want to really go for too much more, and Natsumi, he's already backed off down to the bot lane anyway. Not really too concerned about trying to force a fight, even with the Aegis up. So much time available. And of course, he is getting relatively close to having the full Eye of Skadi up, so why not just go farm that first?
Just keep building up, killing this massive core still late.
I mean, he's definitely going to die here. Maybe just assuming everybody had left here from Polaris, but not quite.
Yeah, not the biggest target. I think Skill Leg, and as you pointed out, Mike, is just making space for the team to use to keep farming up. It's still dire straits for YG. You're at the point where Xavius on his pause for Grimstroke is above Lund's off-lane Tide. That Tide is not a hero that lags behind too much in CS. You know, he clears out camps well, clears out waves well, but just hasn't gotten the room, and I think that you do need items up in the Tide. You need some protection against Doom. A Lotus Orb will help out the cause here. Still a ways off from that as they keep the aggression up here.
Yeah, they want Soul Rain on that Snapfire. He's going to try for the TP play in the tree line, and he's going to make it. You kind of have almost a reverse of what happened last game, where now it feels like YG are the ones that need to try and buy more time and space by split pushing the lanes. They definitely aren't able to do as good of a job as Polaris was doing last game around those. They had the draft for it, that's for sure. Skill late. Oh, he's going to be spotted out here by Mavis. Just won't make the jump in. They'll just take the outpost instead and prepare to be ready for that next Roshan. Even though you still have the Natsumi Aegis up. And I wonder if they just try and force a play now. Like, Natsumi's only 300 gold away from having the full point boost to finish off the Eye of Skadi. Does feel like you still want to get some value out of this Aegis. I mean, it still has 2 minutes left.
Yeah, I think you should. You've got Doom running up in about 2 minutes. They did expend that earlier on, so gonna have to hold off, perhaps. But I think you have enough just from the Troll jumping in and a Rolling Thunder from 4. So let's see if they find target skill A again, showing mid.
The clockwork. Be nice and easy to kill off skill A here as Zorain also getting caught out by Force. They'll get another. 2 supports both going down here from YG. Seems like YG just feeling very lost at the moment as to what to do. And it might go back to the poor game that Young PH has had. And speaking of the Devil, he's been caught out again by the silence, and now Lelouch is in with the stomp out. It's just been such a tough time for the Storm Spirit as he continues to get picked off. He's just not having a game, just no impact right now.
Yeah, he hasn't been having the greatest time and trying to build up. He needs that BKB himself to be protected, so it will always force out the Doom. It's still a ways off, and the gold's almost there, just about 800 gold away, so you're going to hit a good spike on your Storm. Then, you are still lagging behind a bit too much. The high ground hold of YG is decent. Like, they've got Kisses from a mile away, they've got the Cogs to kind of choke people in, and the Ravage to hold them back in such a tight spot. But it's very difficult to rely fully on your Tide when so many BKBs are on hand from Polaris. Natsumi's not going to be pinned down completely. Neither is Lelouch, his own BKB, so I think YG will have to try to force it outside, catch someone by surprise before the BKBs fly on. They will smoke, but they don't have the best info on the map. They've got a couple of outside wards, mainly under triangle in their own top jungle, neither of which are telling them where Polaris is playing right now.
It seems like they are going to struggle to find this fight. YG, they're not even going to bother. They just go back into their triangle and accept the fact that they might have a bit of space to farm here in this triangle, as the Aegis does eventually expire on Natsumi. Polaris, they seem to be the ones that just want to keep fighting. In fact, they've gone in. Soulbind is out. Double silence there. The Impale does land as well, but the hook shot going to hold back Lelouch, but they have got the Ursa well and truly down. KSH has been caught out, and Lund just could not help. The silence making it impossible for him to get the Ravage off, and they just continue to hunt more. Zorain still on the run, but he's going to get Yules mid-TP. No problem here for Force, as they will get another pick off, it seems. Polaris, you start to ask the question, can they force a high ground push?
Yeah, they definitely can. I mean, they still have to worry about Ravage. That's pretty much it. YG's high ground defense mainly relies on Lun getting a good piece of control off, and maybe getting good cogs off from skill A to trap them in. But without the Ursa up, the follow-up damage just isn't there. Heck, they need the Snapfire as well to defend on YG's side. So Polaris don't have too much to worry about. They will play it safe though. Take the tier 2 last outer tower of YG and just kind of reset on Lelouch. Still waiting for his Doom TV back up anyway. So just pull back, play it safe. Roche still a minute and a half when we see that respawn timer back up. But Polaris have really complete control of the map. They are scouting around with Mavis, getting some good forward wards. That is spotted out by YG, having their sentries and obs around, so they should know their jungle is being monitored here. And,
Skill A is going to make the jump in on the Nyx, but they've got another Soulbind out, and there is, well, no Doom yet. In fact, it is on cooldown, but Young PH still getting kind of torn here on the Storm. So he will be able to zip away. Skill A though, can't say the same for him. Natsumi able to take the kill. Roshan still a minute away till we find out when it's going to respawn. But Polaris getting ever so close now to that Satanic up. In fact, they even found a Paladin sword, which apparently went to the other side of the camp. But I think if you're this troll, you might just consider holding the Paladin sword with the Satanic. And yeah, Natsumi, I believe that is the plan. Smoke up.
A lot of healing. Oh.
It's hard high ground to approach. They are going to break the smoke line. He's in, but he's been silenced again, so he can't get the Ravage quite yet. YG does have it now. He may not need it though. KSH, he's in. But no, they did need it. Force has jumped. Are they going to fight? YG? No, not quite. They are trying to retreat again, and they will get punished. It's the same play that continues to just not work out. Trying to go for that high ground triangle play of the Radiant. They're just ready every time.
Polaris just are in the right spot, right time to break off the smokes. Prevent YG from actually getting the jump in with a Ravage. And I think for YG, they actually can't start with a Storm. You actually have to start with Tide. You have to ensure that Young PH can just use that time that they're focused on Tide to jump the back line, take care of the softer targets, and try to clean up for the team. But almost all the time, YG starts off with Young PH instead. I think they have to shift that out. They have to turn to the Tide to just throw out a Ravage, catch what they can, and try to clean up from there. But that's made even harder by the fact that, you know, Lelouch has his Aeon Disc up. So even if you do catch out the Doom, you're going to be stalled out. He's going to get the combo breaker off, and you kind of wonder if you do have enough damage to clean it up, because we've seen YG try to kill off Lelouch a couple of times now. It doesn't feel like they have enough. It just doesn't feel like the damage is there. Fortunately for YG, Roche is a bit of a longer timer, 1 minute and 40 seconds left. So there's going to be some time to react, but that just means Polaris gets to maybe go on the hunt before lining up for the Roche down the line anyway.
Well, they're going to find a double damage rune as well to set up for that Roshan, as well, you will see Force TP down bot, try to keep that lane pushed out. Natsumi, he'll bottle up the DD rune. Should have it as the Roshan does respawn. Meantime, Zorain may get picked off here as Mavis is trying to break the gap, and they're in with the Shivers. However, Young PH is going to try and fight back. Ravage is there. They've held down the Doom, but where is your damage? There is no damage out without the Ursa. Mavis, he might drop and does, but now Natsumi wants to try and turn this, and does get skill lane. The problematic thing is now you have no Ravage to play with.
Yeah, the follow-through is just not there. Like, they need KSH to focus in on Doom, and it's just not a very easy target to burst down. Very tanky, lots of armor on Lelouch. The Shiva's up. The combo breaker ensures that the Storm just can't keep laying on repetitive damage. And YG just finds themselves kind of stuck. They can kill off the supports. They've been killing off the Grimstroke and Nyx, but they can't kill off the Chorus. Maybe you could kill off the Pango. He's still pretty soft. He's also got an Aeon Disc now. And Polaris, 20 seconds till Roche right about. They're in position to just keep forcing these fights.
Yeah, just find another. Young PH gonna zip right through, but silence is there. Young PH, he needs to get the hell out. Soul by no, the Rolling Thunder, and now the Doom. Oh, this game is going very poorly for YG, but great for Polaris. They even force a buyback out of Zorain to try and get ready for this next Roshan. But I think if they get started on the Roshan, you have to expect Young PH to buy back. You don't have Ravage either on Lund yet. Trying to take the outpost first. Lelouch going to jump in. Zorain has been caught. That'll be a tieback. There goes your Snapfire as Force. Does catch the Ursa, but just kind of walk away. Natsumi unable to break the gap, but instead they'll go after skill late. Be a bit of a slow process, but it won't matter. They'll eventually get it. YG just continue to find no successful team fights.
They just aren't able to win out these trades. Now the Roshan is open for Polaris. Mavis does scout it out. So it should be a relatively easy take here. Roche number 3, Aegis Cheese, and a refresh up. So they've got double Doom for free coming out from Lelouch. And that's going to be big. YG, they're running out of tools to fight with. At the very least, they'll have Ravage for the next high ground defense. But even then, the Ravage just doesn't feel like something YG can build up on. They don't have the damage on their Storm. They don't have the damage on their Ursa. You kind of need to focus on one target when they jump in, and none of the targets are squishy. You know, the Troll's not squishy, the Doom's not squishy. If you kill off the Pango, Nyx, or Grimstroke, it's not enough. The Troll and Doom alone can still take over, so YG's going to have to find an angle somehow, but it's looking like a really difficult hold for them as the high ground's going to be under pressure soon.
Boom, there it goes.
YG You do have this zipping back and forth from Young PH to just try and clear the creep wave. You did see that game 1. And Natsumi, though, he could just farm the whole map. I mean, it's no problem for him. 28k net worth advantage. It's just hard to see them not winning this game now, as they've even got a refresher orb up on Lelouch. So not only do you have the double doom, but you've even got a third one. Natsumi is half HP, but still has the Aegis, so no real stress for him quite yet. With the Satanic and Paladin Sword, he'll be able to heal up just fine. This raid, I'd love to see a refresher on Xavius, just so you can have 4 Dooms flying out from Polaris. I mean, it just kind of feels like that's where we're going with this game.
Yeah, would be lovely to see all the Dooms flying in with YG. Their options are growing really limited. They are playing the high ground defense quite well, stalling out as much as possible. But it's not doing much to drag back this net worth deficit they have. 28k still standing for Polaris. BKB is finally up on Young PH, so he's not going to be controlled by the stuns. He will have to still be worried about Doom. Of course, when you pop that BKB, that puts a massive target on your back anyway.
Natsumi, though, double damage, feeling very confident. So again, they will chip away this HP pool. Thing is, for YG, they just need one team fight to go their way, and this game could turn right on its head. But again, 29k advantage here. It's just very hard to imagine that Polaris actually end up losing a fight, especially with double Doom, and you've got the double sight device with the Soulbind. In fact, Lelouch is going to try and go in for a stomp, but just was barely out of range. Won't really matter though. Natsumi can just still frontline and take that mid-racks. YG are the ones that need to commit, as Young PH is going to be very low on mana now. He's going to try and TP away. Xavius, he had sight device. I don't think he had the vision. A bit of a mess up there as KSH. Keep going, they'll jump in now. Big Ravage jump. They've got Natsumi stunned, but again, they're just lacking damage. KSH is nowhere to be seen to try and make the jump in, and now the double Doom is there. Make it a third, I think, as Lelouch. He has refreshed it up. They will take down Zorain, no problem. They'll hold on to that third Doom. Lelouch will just pop the BKB, and there you go. There's the third one out. A dieback on the clockwork as Xavius. He does finally go down, but they have got the Ursa trapped up. He'll enrage and try to at least go for a bit of a fight, as he does get Mavis. Can he find more, though? Highly doubtful, as they've got the Doom out. He does commit a buyback. He's going to try. Natsumi could not give a crap though. He still has 2 lives. Instead, they'll go in onto Force on the backside and they'll get the Pango. So they have successfully delayed out the game in some way. Problem is, the net worth just continues to climb for Polaris.
Yep, they've still got the net worth advantage with the mid lane cleared out. They've got at least 1 lane shoving into their favor. Polaris are still protected by tier 2s on the mid and top lane as well. So they're not under any threat from YG. And YG, they're starting to get some damage going. We are seeing KSH approach that point where he is hitting really fast, can melt some of the softer targets. It's just not enough for him to commit onto the troll, commit onto the Doom, which are still your biggest issues. Like, you have to be able to somehow find a way to kill off Natsumi and kill off Lelouch. Neither one has died in the past 20 minutes almost. Like, YG has just not been able to find that damage and control. They are trying to build up though. Like, the Ags on one Young PH will be big. Combining that with a Ravage gives him a lot more control, and maybe then your Ursa can start to rip in on the right heroes in the engagements, but that will put YG at risk of not having buyback. Young PH doesn't have much gold to play with, so waiting for both the Ags and the buyback is going to take a long time. That's enough time for Polaris to just keep hunting here.
YG's going to try and, well, they're going to just smoke up on KSH with the Ninja Gear. Polaris, they are still going for a hunt. No real reason to try and force anything from Polaris. Again, they still just dominate the map. Dota Plus is 99% their way right now, so 1% chance here for YG to make a comeback. Again, it's just going to be very difficult, but it only takes 1 team fight. That's the thing. The amount of net worth you can get out of one big team fight win is going to be kind of insane here for YG if they can get it done. It's very difficult to imagine getting it done. They do smoke up on Polaris' 4. Moving into that dire jungle, young PH has been spotted and Mavis is trying to make his way over. Impale, oh, it's going to be on the mark. Can they get some snares off? They don't need it. They have the Abyssal Blade. Young PH, he's going to be KB. Might just be fine. Does go all the way back to the fountain. In the meantime, around the Roshan pit, another team fight has broken out. Lun, he is unable to ravage. He's been doomed up again. A refresh on the Doom. As Lun will be just chased down, taken out. And Lelouch, he's going for a bit more now. Finding out Zorain. They don't even need to doom him up. They'll just catch him out. Skill Lei, he's going to try and TP. Can we get a stun here from Lelouch? Not quite in time. But as you can see, John, they're just making sure that YG, they just can't leave the base. They just can't.
No. They really can't. They don't have too much map control left on YG. At least they've got this nice Obs Ward watching the triangle forward area. So they can spot if a Roshan is being taken by Polaris to a certain extent. But not much else. Even KSH is just being tracked down by Mavis. Not safe even on that side, even without the creep wave being shoved in. The Ursa does go buying out the Satanic. So Satanic up and running. No buyback on KSH. But he also already extended buyback earlier on. So it's 4 minutes until that's back up. As Polaris, they know they've got a bit of a lead now. Just going to force that top set of racks. And Natsumi doesn't take too long to get that done.
Dire's top barracks has fallen.
Yep, top racks, no problem. You've got to commit for a big fight, but they are waiting on Lund to just revive first. They fortify up, they're going to try and sneak around. KSH though going to have his smoke broken. Now the Soulbind out with a double silence and Lelouch. He's going to have a double doom again. They just continue to land these and that'll be KSH gone. That's it, it's going to be GG. I mean, they'll try one last time as the Ravage is out. Lund, he's going to give it his best shot. They're trying just for the Doom, but they've already lost Lun. He has his own buyback and will commit it. But without the Ursa, they are lacking so much damage that they will lose everything again and again. Xavius, he'll get another Hex out onto Lun. And at this point, if you're Polaris, you're looking at T4 towers. You're getting very sick and tired of this game. Young PH though, when he does have the Axe up, again, I just think they lack so much damage to follow up as they get the Yule Scepter off. They have caught the Storm. They get the Abyssal to boot, but can they lock him down? You bet your ass they can. They'll get the Scythe device, and that'll be enough. GG called. We're going to a game 3 between Polaris and YG.
Yeah. Polaris managing to play really well in this game. They had a really strong draft that YG could kind of not taper in. Like, sure, they were killing off the top lane quite a fair bit. Polaris was off to a bit of a slower start with Force there, but there was no answer for the Doom. And with the itemization we saw coming out from Young PH, he opted for that early build-up into the Bloodstone, and that just meant he didn't really have the best control to play with. He had a lot of mana, but there was no follow-through from the side of YG. They had this really good teamfight lineup, and they couldn't really line up the targets they wanted to. They weren't getting off the big Ravages that they'd want, and they just kind of bled out a bit too much. Natsumi and the Troll built up a lot faster than KSH could, and the disparity between the cores on both the mid and safe lane was just much too wide. So I think for YG, they're going to have to go back. I think the most effective way for them to play is giving Young PH something a bit more active on the mid. Like, Storm just takes a bit too long to hit the Orchid. Once that stalled out, it felt like YG was lacking a lot of initial jump, with Young PH not having the initial damage to control. And Lelouch, it's a Doom. If you don't stop that guy, he just grows massive once the Midas is up, and eventually YG just missed out in their window there.
All right, well, with that, we are going to head into game number 3 after a very short 10-minute break. And like I said, right after that, we'll be back with game 3's draft. We'll see you then.